goes actually up and toward the back. So those of you on that side, you're looking at it from the front. Over here, looking at it from the back. So this is the sternal end, just articulated to your own sternum. Are you recording me?
I'm recording the...
So that's, this is a left. And then at your stations, you should have a left and a right for each bone that I have listed up there. So that's clavicle. And like if you're not sure, you want to go up to the model up there and compare it as well. Okay, scapula, coxal bone, humerus. What else we got? Femur. So for the humerus, again, where's the front, where's the back? I mean, no one taught me this, and I'm sure you'll come up with your own little ways as well. The way I look at it is I look for the fossa down here, it's deeper, okay? That's the back. So it's called olecranon fossa. So olecranon fossa articulates with the process here, the ulna. It's called olecranon process. It kind of forms your hinge joint. So once I figure out the back, I face it toward the back of my body, and then I face the front toward the front. Now the head has to be facing medial, inline, so that way it's going to articulate, that's up here, in this cavity called the glenoid cavity of the scapula. Okay? So I face the head inward, medial, and this will be a left. The right, again, there's the back. The deeper fossa is in the back, called olecranon fossa. So face it toward the back of your body. The head has to be facing midline, medial. So this would be a right. What else? We did humerus. Now the scapula, you'll notice this is the posterior. This here is anterior. Okay? So the cavity has to be facing, once you face the front, toward the front, the cavity has to be facing medial or lateral. Come on. Do you see any cavities facing midline? No, they have to face what? Laterally. So once you figure out the front and the back, orient it where it's facing laterally. So this would be a right. Okay. Femur. Femur's a little easier. The front is where it's going to be flat. This is where your patella sits. Another thing is the back, you have the condyles here. They're now nice and round. So I face it toward the front like it would in your body. The head, which way should the head face? Medial or lateral?
Medial.
Medial, so that way it articulates with your coxal bone. Now for the tibia, I didn't grab one of those. Where's the front, where's the back again? So here, there's a little round projection that I used as a student. It's called tibial tuberosity. I know that's the front. You may figure out another way to figure out where the front is. Once I figure out the front, face it toward the front. Now here, the extension here, the longer one, is called medial malleolus. Medial means it faces midline, not lateral, but medial. So have it facing medial toward your body once you figure out where the front is. This would be a right. Notice the one here on my left would be a left. The medial malleolus is facing midline. Okay. So those are the ones you want to make sure you can identify left versus a right. Now the hand, I don't think we have a question asking if it's a right hand, left hand. The first thing I do again, where's the front, where's the back? There's a bone here, a prominent bone here on the palm of the hand that's in the front. It's called Pisiform Bone. Once I find it, I face it to the front of my body. Then I just orient one of my hands to it. Obviously it's not the right, it's got to be the left. Okay? These are called carpals. They each have a name. There's a little mnemonic phrase to help you remember the carpals. You start down with one row, work your way across, and then you've got to jump up to the next row, work your way across. Okay, the phrase is one of them. Sally left the party to take. You want to say Cindy? I would say Kathy, but okay, Cindy's obviously with us.
Cindy.
Okay, Cindy home. So Sally stands for scaphoid, left for lunate, the for triquetral, party for pisiform. That's one row on the bottom. Then you jump back up. 2 for trapezium, take for trapezoid, Cindy for capitate, home for hamate. So there's a little phrase, a little pattern to go along with it to help you out. Now for the tarsals, the ones in the foot, the ankle of the foot, I didn't like the little mnemonic phrases in the book or online, but one of the students wrote it up one there. This class needs more in-class lectures for representing the bone names, talus, calcaneus, so forth. The other phrase for the carpals, Cassandra? Is there another phrase for the carpals? No? There's one that says some lovers try positions that they can't handle. That'll also be a phrase for each of the bone names. Okay? Some of the things you will be asked, like I said, 3 differences between the fetal skull and the adult skull. Now remember, if you put fontanelles and then the other sutures, I'll just count that as 1 because it's in the same area. 3 differences between the male and coxal bone. Well, I got one here, right? Walking all over. Give me some differences. Which one do you think has a wider pelvic region? Female for birth. On average, yeah, you would think men weigh more, so they had to support more weight. So muscle attachments on here would have a more prominent projection. Okay? Anything else? There's a little table in your book you want to look over to pick out a 3rd difference. The skull, on the color skull, it don't matter which, but what's the keystone bone? The bones that all work around this one. Sphenoid, S-P-H-E-N-O-I-D. The ossicles, you have little bones in the ear, they help amplify sound. Do you remember their names? Malleus, Incus, stapes. Don't put hammer, don't put anvil or stirrup. Okay, that's a translation of their name. For the ribs, how many pairs of ribs do we have? 12. How many are true? They make a direct connection to the sternum. The first 7. 8 through 12 you say are false. The last 2 you can more specifically say there are. These are broken, but yeah, floating. Okay. How many cervical vertebrae are there? 7. Thoracic? 12. Lumbar? Okay, 5. Yes. What's the tailbone called? Coccygeal. Which bone is this one? Well, first of all, is it cervical, thoracic, or lumbar? Cervical. Which one is it? C1 or C2? C3? What? C3PO? It's C1. What was C1's name? Atlas. Remember the guy who holds up the world in Latin? Atlas. Sits on top of C2's process, which is called a dens. Allows you to rotate, do your axial movement. So C2's name is axis. Be able to recognize Atlas, axis, dens process. This vertebrae, is that cervical, thoracic, or lumbar? What will cervical vertebrae have that you'll never see in any other one? Tell me, what's a feature associated with cervical? Besides that they're small in size in comparison to the others, they have how many foramen? 2? Do you see 2 or 3? They'll always have 3 foramen. Look at C1, 3 foramen. 1 down the middle, 2 on the side for nerves. Can't really see it on C2, but if you turn it toward the back, you'll see 2 on the side, 1 down the middle. So when in doubt, count the foramen for cervical. Lumbar, one of the things you can go by is size, but they have a very blunt process here called spinous process. Blunt means not very sharp. Thoracic, hold up the thoracic. Can you identify thoracic there? No, it's C1, C2. How many foramen are in there? 3? That's cervical, that's C2. They have a very prominent, sharp spinous process. Yeah, that one's a thoracic. Point to its spinous process. Yeah, it's more prominent. That one's not really a great example, but. So here, it has very prominent spinous process, but be careful. I held up this one. Hey, this one has a prominent spinous process too, but I count 3 foramen. So this one would go under as cervical. This one has 1 thoracic. Okay? All right, let's see. Jake, hold a model of the skin for us up, please. All right, what's the very top layer of the skin called? Epidermis? Can you point to the epidermis, Jake? Or someone, Cabino, help them out? That's dermis, epidermis. You'll do real good. Now, the second layer down is dermis. Show me papillary layer. Well, you had it. Papillary is the top layer. Just turn it a little more so everybody can see it. And reticular layer, go down. Yes, there, stop. All right. Oil, sebaceous gland. You have a look at it, Jake. Guide your finger around. Which one's the oil gland? It's around the hair shaft. No, that's the eccrine gland.
It's a little.
It's the one in the corner.
Yeah.
Is it
Go up above the.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, that one, or you go to the next one. You see it there. That's go up, down. There you go. That's your oil gland. Put sebaceous gland if you can. Now, eccrine gland, the first gland you pointed to, that's your sweat gland. How about erector pili muscle? Down there. You had it. Okay. Now, for the receptors, don't worry about the receptors. You'll have a picture. Hair bulb, the round region at the bottom. That's the root. Show me the bulb. Go to the left. All that around is hair bulb. Okay. Now, for the cells, melanocyte, keratinocyte, dendritic cell, it'll be a picture, okay? Give me a derivative of the epidermis. Hair. What else? Skin. Well, it's nails, right? Hair and nails. How about the glands? Sweat gland, oil gland. Is that part or derived from the epidermis? Yes. Pili muscle? No. Receptors for touch? No. Receptors for temperature? No. That's nervous tissue. Okay. Compact bone model. Okay. Go ahead. What are the round rings features there? The functional units called? Go ahead, show us.
I don't know.
You will know the whole round. Like they look like if you cut a tree, they look round patterns.
Oh, these.
Yeah, show us.
Do you want me to pick it
Sure.
up?
Okay, see the ring structures within the compact bone? Each one is an osteon. Now, within the osteon, you have what makes it hard, the lamella.